YouTube, Sam here. I'm about to replace the water pump on this, and if you watch my videos you'll see I replaced a whole lot of other parts on this. And this is a 97, I keep calling it an 87, I don't know why, a 97 ASTRO van. So if you hear me say 90 or 87, it is a 97. That you're about to receive I think will be pretty informative. There's a lot of different parts and pieces to these vans that you have to just basically tear a lot of stuff apart. But I'll tell you right now, in the money savings, you know, I don't know what I'll have in parts, but I guarantee you if you take one of these vans in, they automatically charge you more than anything else because there are so many things you have to tear off of these vans to get to whatever it is you're working on. The other thing I will say is once you start pulling this stuff apart, look at everything. If there's hoses that need replaced, belts that need replaced, water pumps, alternators, pulleys, whatever you find, replace it. Otherwise you're going to be tearing it all apart again. Obviously money depends on whether or not how much you do, but since I have this all torn apart, hopefully I'll be able to replace several things, and I'll have several videos going on. So keep an eye out for, I got a battery one, a battery tray one, I'll have an alternator one, I'll have a water pump pulley one, and inside of those videos you'll be learning how to tear a lot of the parts and pieces off of these cars so that you can get to things easy. That's the thing about these, is there's a lot of crap in the way, but it's fairly easy to pull off and get to other things underneath them without too much effort. So don't let it scare you of how little room is underneath the hood in these things, because it really is not that difficult if you just take it one bite at a time. Alright, well, let's get to it. But because I got ahead of myself at getting the alternator out, I took the belt off. Well, to take this fan off you need that belt on there, so you don't want to take the alternator out yet. So if you know you're going to do your water pump like I do, you want to make sure you get this off before you take the belt off. Don't make that mistake, it sucks. Because that is not an easy belt to get on and off with this fan here. So without further ado, I'm going to go get my big wrench and I will show you how to get this fan. Alright, well, I have my Harbor Freight crescent wrench, big Mamma Jamma crescent wrench on here, and it's well worth the money. I'm sure I didn't pay hardly diddly for it, and I use it all the time. But if you don't have this, if you don't have a big crescent wrench, go to O'Reilly's. O'Reilly's or other auto parts stores I'm sure do it too, but I know O'Reilly's. They will rent you all the tools you need. If it's some sort of specialized weird tool, they will rent it to you, and it's free. Usually, you just have to give them your ID or a down, not like a down payment. It's not a down payment, but I can't think of what the name is. But anyway, some sort of payment, but they will give you money back if you return that tool in good shape. Now, O'Reilly's doesn't pay me anything. I've never been paid for a product or a tool in my life. If somebody wants to, feel free to contact me. Anyhow, here we are. Big crescent wrench. There's a big nut back there that this fits onto, that's right behind the fan, and it still turns. Like, in fact, I need to tighten that up, because I need to tighten that up, so I will get back to you when I do that. Alright, I got this tightened up. You may also see that this is kind of in the way, but actually I had this up here with some baling wire so it would be out of my way to get the fan shroud off, but it's kind of in my way now, so I'm bringing it back down. Got the wrench on here, and if you notice, it will turn, but so you're not going to undo it by hand. What you have to do is take a big hammer and give it a whack. Be really careful, don't hit anything you don't want to break, and this doesn't always work either. So this belt is pretty bad, so I'm hoping it works. Done a few things here actually, and nothing seems to be working. So now I have this C-clamp here, and on the pulley behind the fan I have that C-clamp clamped between, well, I have the belt kind of clamped between the pulley and the C-clamp, kind of on both sides here. I don't think you'll be able to see it, but down underneath, you can kind of see it right there, and over on this side. And I got that, the C-clamp is going down and around underneath the pulley. So hopefully I can get my wrench down where my light is right here, and I'll be able to hopefully get this stupid thing off. This has been a nightmare. I'll tell you what, it is worth it doing yourself. I know I'm making this probably look hard as usual, but I'll get her sooner or later. You just got to keep persevering and figuring things out till something finally works. Now I will say, since I am using the C-clamp, that if you choose to do something the way I'm doing it, I'm not responsible if you break something or hurt yourself. And yet again, if you do not like the way I'm doing something, don't do it. Alright, let's give her a little bit better than that. And I will say, when I went and got it on there, I went to kind of turn it by hand just to see if it was going to hold. And this C-clamp, actually the whole thing did kind of turn and is butted up against the air conditioner. So yet again, break something doing something I'm doing, I'm not responsible. And I did see, because I have been having trouble, so I did go online here and kind of look and see, and I saw one guy, sorry I can't remember your name, he used like a bar to give it a wrap. So I got this pretty long bar here. I'm going to give her a wrap and try it. And just be really careful. This is scaring me even here. Well, it's holding it. Do not hit your fan blade, it's plastic. It will break. Oh, something turned. Oh, I did it. Good, 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 good. Oh, now I gotta get this off here. Now, tightening it back up here. Alright. Holy catfish. Alright, well, the C-clamp appears to have worked. I'm still going to have to get on there with the wrench, but I'm going to finish getting this off. You don't know, you see me wrenching on this several times until it comes off. Finally off here. Boy, that was fairly difficult. Once I figured out this, it didn't take me but a couple of whacks. Now I left this on here, and as you can see, it's kind of up against the air conditioning pulley here. And I'm not saying this is the right way, because I don't really like this that much myself. And then see, it's clamping the, hopefully you can see that, clamping the belt in between there. So that belt is clamped to the pulley here and clamped in between that and the pulley here. I ain't saying it's right, but it did work. And yet again, I'm not responsible if you break something, so don't do it if you don't like the way I did it. Alright, time to take the water pump pulley here off. It's 10mm, 4 10mm here. I left the C-clamp on here and the belt on here, so hopefully this will come loose, which it did. These were not very difficult. Alright, I'll go ahead and take this clamp off of here. If you can see that little red spot right there, yes, that is my blood. So be careful. That's from reaching down behind here and scratching myself. No big whoop, that happens every time I work on a car. Alright, those don't want to come out by hand, so. And make sure you get the right bolts and nuts where the right bolts and nuts are supposed to go. So pay attention, take pictures, write down, draw. Remember, however you need to do it. I'm filming it, so those bolts go in the water pump pulley. I can't tell you how many times I've had the wrong nuts and bolts in the wrong places, even on things like this, where you'd think that they'd want to be way more careful than they were. Or like when I started out this project, the not even being there at all, things flopping in the wind, literally. Drives me nuts, people. If you're gonna do something, at least attempt to do it right. If a nut or bolt doesn't fit where you're putting it, there's a reason. Fix the problem. Now you can see all this wetness here that's coming out, and I'm assuming that that is green, so that is leakage from my water pump. I'm hoping not leakage from something else. Now we're taking the belt off, and right here is the tensioner pulley. Well, technically the pulley's here and it hooks into your bracket here, but right here, hopefully you can see that, there's a little square hole, and that fits 3/4 inch. I believe it's 3/4 inch. Wow, I'm completely losing. I'm gonna have to go inside and take a break for a while. Anyway, that ratchet right there, you can use regular size ratchet. Is a pretty long bar that has an end like that on it, but frankly I think it's a waste of money. I never needed one before. So anyway, take that and take the tension off, pull your belts off. Now, big thing here, don't get your fingers in between the belt and the pulley. Another thing, don't just let this go, because there's quite a bit of tension on there. You're gonna end up wrapping your fingers, or it'll fly off and break something. Don't let it go. Alright, and yet again, remember where it goes. Take pictures, whatnots, and hopefully, if you're lucky, whoa, as I get tangled in my thing here, you'll have one of these that'll kind of show you what it is. It's over here on the core support. Sometimes they're gone though, so pay attention. Here, we gotta pull this off, so hopefully it just pulls off, but I could be wrong. There we go. Alright, there's the water pump. And I don't know if you can see it. Right there, you can see it kind of weeping out that hole. So this is definitely a bad water pump, and then some. Now, if I can get this shot in here, you'll see back in there, I hope. Get the light out. There's a bolt right there, and right there. And that's on the driver's side. On the passenger side, there's one right there, and one below it right there. That's passenger side. I believe those are the only 4 bolts that need to come out. But first, we need to pop this hose off on the top here, and the radiator hose on the bottom there, which I am also going to replace since I'm here doing it. If it looks bad, I'm going to look at it, make sure. No use in spending money where you don't have to, but I'd have to do this all over again just to get to that one hose probably. I might be able to do it from underneath, but it'd almost be easier to do what I just did to get to it from the top. Some hose here. Just get your screwdriver in there, loosen that up. Yet again, I think somebody's been in this engine bay before doing some of this stuff, because I don't think these are original hose clamps to this car, but I could be wrong, but I really don't think so. Also down here on the bottom, there's the bottom radiator hose. Loosen that up good. You could use a screwdriver for this, but I got this little tool here, and it's actually a little bit bent. These are Harbor Freight cheapy picks here, and you go under there and you can kind of get it to break loose a little bit from where it's stuck at. They make a bigger tool that would probably work better for this. I'm going to loosen this up a little bit more. That's pretty darn loose, but I'm going to get it clean out of the way. Yet again, it's better to spend a little bit more time making sure things are out of your way than just screw with them. Can't see anything I'm doing here, but that's alright. I'm just going to bring that down to the bottom. There, that just kind of helps break away the rubber all the way around there. Alright, that's biting me a little bit, so I'm going to show you a little trick on these. If you get these water pump pliers, I'm working on a water pump with water pump pliers. Anyway, with these hoses on here, can be a pain. If you take those and carefully twist it, I did that one already, I haven't done this one yet. This is kind of more what these are meant for. Get on that hose and try and twist it a little bit. Not a lot of room down here for me to do so, but there we go. Felt that one break a little bit there. Doesn't look like it, but it's turning. There we go. I'm not as worried about this one because I definitely think, and there you can see it's turning. So that's kind of the easier way to, which I should tell you, don't forget. Before we pull all these hoses off, we want to actually get a pan underneath there to catch everything. I almost forgot. That shows you where my head is lying right now. These are old metal refrigerator drawers. Frigidaire. They work really good for this kind of stuff, so I'm going to throw those on. And in the interest, I'm going to change this since it's impeding my view of the water pump. I'm going to take this and take it out. It's 13 millimeter. It's just the idler pulley here. So we're going to get it out of the way. Make sure there's not a nut or something on the back here. No. Just a really long bolt. You can kind of hear it. It's getting pretty wobbly, making a little bit of noise. It wasn't horribly making noise that I could hear, but you can kind of hear it. And since I'm in here, can't remember what the price was. I think it was like 13 bucks or something like that, but I could be very wrong. Looks like, now that I pulled that off, that there is another hose right here I need to pull off. So it may be worth your while just to pull that off, whether you need to or not. Just put some Loctite on it and put it back in there when you put it back in. I'm gonna go ahead and get this hose off here. And yet again, look at all these hoses. If they need replaced, replace them. There's just no use in doing all this work and then having something leak on you from somewhere else. So far, I think I'm going to replace the bottom radiator hose. I think the top one looks alright, and it's easier to get to if I have to. And most of these hoses, these small ones going to the water pump, seem to be alright. See if I can get on here with this. There we go. I don't know if that's why these are called water pump pliers, but they do work good for that. Okay. Well, yet again, actually time to take these bolts out. I showed you where the bolts are here. There's only 4 that I can see, and they're 13 millimeter. No, correction on that, they are 14 millimeter. And yet again, this is where having one of these long extensions is very, very nice. 2 things about these: you can get to things. I'm trying to lighten your view up here a little bit. You can get to things better, and also you don't crack your knuckles on as much stuff when you're up close. And again, I'm just gonna loosen them at first, all the way out yet. Okay, you can see that. Oh, was in there. Oop, there's my light. And all 4 bolts do actually appear to be the same, so you can choose to put them back in the same place or not. Alright, and there she's done. Actually came out a little easier than I thought it would. And we'll try and get whatever we can out of this to dumping it all over my floor. First of all, once you get everything out, you want to make sure you check all the parts you bought to the parts that you're taking off. Make sure they're identical, because I've had cars that the same year, make, and model of car had 2 different types of alternators on it and 2 different types of starters on it, depending on what time of the month they decided to build and what time of the year they built it. So you got to be careful. You can't just assume a part's going to fit. So keep all your parts first of all. Don't throw them away. Second of all, most of them you're going to have to turn in for a core charge anyway. And third, if you don't turn them in for a core charge for some reason, they can be recycled. Alright, so it's out, and I had some technical difficulty talking with the camera. So since it's out, that's pretty much the end of this video. I'm gonna kind of put everything back together and do a final video on everything, but these videos are already too long. So until then, this is Sam, Jack of all, Master of none. Y'all have a good one.